Because, man, we are getting our international elements of the show are breaking out like crazy, audience wise. Hi, everybody. Welcome, Cosmic Rose. Deirdre jumping right in there. Hello. Chatterific peoples. It's fascinating to me. I'm just diving right in. No music, no nothing, because it's the radio show, so that it'll have its own opening in a moment. So I figured, what the heck, have a little hangout with you.
You're on in 1 minute.
Okay, fantastic. And over the course of the next couple of hours, we will hold on. Ooh, my iPad is in the other room, and that's where I keep all my news stories. Let's not forget.
Uh-oh.
Johnny, keep them entertained. I'll be right back.
You get to watch me click around. Right into New York Groove?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, that's what I was thinking. That's where it went.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
What did you put up there?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Tell her I said hi.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Live exclusively for WCPT
Later.
in Chicago,
Later.
standing up and speaking out, here's Hal Sparks.
Well, happy Saturday, everybody. You know, we are on the edge of a new year, a new time, a new era. Some hope.
Era.
Yeah, era, which always sounds like an error with an accent. But over the process of kind of gathering what to make of this year and kind of looking towards the end of the year and going, okay, I've got what? We've got 2 more shows, well, 1.5 radio shows between now and the end of the year, because I'm filling in for Joan Esposito on the Monday after Christmas. And over the course of the next 2 weeks, I'm, like a lot of people, going to be wrapping my head around what this year has been about. Because, good Lord, we have been in a news quickening for 4 years. I have to say, the last 4 years have dragged and zipped by at the same time. And is there an airplane
I'm really over it.
flying over your place? Is there a... I hear a...
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
One of my drives is very
Oh,
busy.
it's got a cool... So yeah, that's going to
Yeah.
happen. I understand. Then please allow it to, because we don't need an overheating drive during the show. We have enough tech problems, especially considering today's main story, which is, of course, the Cyberpunked attack on our entire governmental infrastructure and a large portion of private industry in the United States. And thank you, Hal Vickery, for the Happy Christmas Hana Kwanzaa gift on Super Chats. And Billy Hutchings, much love to you for the Hal Sparks No Potty Mouth Today Fund. Thank you very much. I'm going to watch it. That's the issue with live streaming. It's been since I'm on every day now, and since I'm just streaming on the interwebs where there are next to no rules. Apparently, there are words you can't say if you listen to the right-wingers, but none of them are swear words. They're all words that are being censored by big tech, but we'll get to that as well today. But looking back over this year, it's hard to pick. I was literally thinking for the last half a month about, like, what would I do if I was going to pick the big story of the year, right? What do we... when we're heading into this, I've been kind of trying to wrap my head around, like, going back over stuff that obviously the election was huge. Biden taking the primary, this come from behind kind of thing where he took South Carolina and Clyburn and all this. I mean, it seems like 100 years ago. And then right at the tail end, right before we're about to hit the end of this fiscal year and this, this awfulest of awful years in 2020, we are hit with the largest attack on our computer infrastructure in the history of our country, at least that we know of. During the Cold War, there were several attempts in the early stages of what became the intranet that the Pentagon used, that eventually Al Gore was the one guy in the room in the 90s who, when they were like, what do we do with the internet since we're shutting it down? And he was the guy going, why don't we just let people use it? That's the origin of the Al Gore invented the internet storyline, which everybody mocks, but that's actually what happened. That he was actually the only one who kind of grasped what it was for. In this meeting of, we've got a new intranet for our infrastructure, our cyber infrastructure, because things are getting much better. We're well past the slow evolving GIF over time pictures of the 90s and the slow downloads and the fax noise computer and the you've got mail, and we're now getting into a new era, and it's the Pentagon, and we're way ahead of this stuff. So what are we going to do with the old one? Do we throw the old computer out, or do we donate it to the library? And basically that's what it was. And Al Gore was like, let's donate it to the library. And basically they gave the intranet to the world, and it became the internet. Now, there may have been, thank you, Eric. There may have been several attacks during the Cold War that we're not aware of before it was the internet, that were war games level strikes. And I don't doubt they existed both directions. Many of you will know my favorite hacker story of the last decade, which is, of course, a non-sanctioned move by the Obama administration, allegedly, maybe, possibly, was that hackers attacked the nuclear facilities in Iran and overspun the centrifuges, making them useless, but effectively destroying and unbalancing the equipment, which is very delicate, ruining them permanently. And before destroying all the circuit boards on all the computers in the place through malware, they had all the computers through the speakers on them play Thunderstruck by AC/DC. That's how you do it. I'm just saying, Russia, if you're listening, this classless undermining of just kind of old school getting somebody's PIN number and emptying their account is just, it's just so 1992. I mean, if you're doing things that Edward Furlong could have done in Terminator 2, you need to up your game. Just have a little style, a little panache. But besides the ones we don't know about, and there are quite a few. I mean, we had two countries bombing themselves for decades. There were a couple of near misses. There's a Russian officer who saved the world because he had one of those moments where this guy Stanislav Petrov. Do you know about Stanislav Petrov? He's he was the one who basically said, "I don't think those are missiles. I think that's a glitch." And if he hadn't waited, it would have they would have launched a counterstrike. Everyone would be dead. And it was Stanislav Petrov goes down in history along with Ignat Semmelweis as two of the most important men with silly names that have saved everyone on Earth. Most of the people alive today have Stanislav Petrov and Ignat Semmelweis to thank. And regular viewers of the show know it.
Christmas Carol, though.
What?
Ignat Semmelweis.
Yes.
That's my favorite Christmas Carol.
Is it? Yes. I don't sing the original ones in German like you do, but for those of you that don't know, Ignat Semmelweis is the guy who got drummed out of the British medical establishment for insisting that doctors wash their hands after handling a dead body before helping with a birth. And because he did that, they thought he was awful and kicked him out of the medical industry. He lost his license and died in ignominy, but saved everyone's life. And look at that. We've got a new patron. Thank you so much. Patreon.com/HalSparks. Great way to support the show. And as a Christmas gift, perhaps you could even do just the annual thing. So you don't even have to worry about it every month. There's all kinds of levels and stuff like that. And when we go back to doing live shows, there's all kinds of wonderful perks. Thanks, Doug Jones. So over the course of the internet becoming more and more important to all of us, there have been a lot of changes. And Johnny Million and I think more than anybody in the radio family of WCPT, know of which we speak in terms of when computers started to scale down and took things that were usually in the arena of the rich or giant industry and put them on your desk. From Cubase to Logic to GarageBand to GarageBand on your phone to Ableton Live and the DJ-ish EMD kind of software that people use to create music that way. That used to be the kind of stuff you had to go in. Oh my God, thank you, Nikki, for gifting subs to everybody on that. That was so lovely. It used to be, and well, let's see. Do we take a break? Let's take a break. When I come back, I want to talk to you about how everything computer-wise has gotten more personal, and along with it, the ability to bring down governments and industry. And that's kind of why you need mature adults who don't hate their own country in charge of things. This is a general idea. We'll be back. Wow. The mom says, I remember this all. My first computer was a key card. Johnny, you've seen this. Wait, hold on. I showed this on my stream yesterday.
Oh, that's so awesome.
That was upstairs on my dad's glass drafting desk, remember?
Oh, that's amazing.
And the printer, which was a dot matrix printer, was more expensive than the computer. Yeah. And it was only because of my dad's, the business that he worked for, the company in Bannockburn that he worked for, that they would split the cost of it with him if he bought one. And he's like, you can do homework on it. I used it more than he did. But that was the first Mac, 128K. That was all the memory it had.
28K.
Yeah, the only internal memory was basically just enough to keep the clock running. Yeah. People are going, Commodore 64. I have two Mac 2CIs in my garage that were in storage that I got originally, and I cut I used to do song parodies on them because you could do 4 tracks of audio on them for my sketch group in the 90s, and I burned out the Logic board on them doing it. So I had to get it. Thanks. I had to get another one just to take, it was cheaper to get a new computer and move the RAM and the audio card into it because then replacing the Logic board. I miss key punch cards. We're not far from it.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
It didn't take much, but as soon as I mentioned, early computers and I showed off my Mac, my original 128K Mac, which Johnny Million actually saw at my house in Chicago when we were in high school, that I still have. I am not a hoarder. I'm a collector. Thank you very much. I don't have stacks of newspapers. I have stacks of floppy disks I can't use anymore.
The newspaper thing always surprises me. It's like, really?
The what?
You're gonna hold on to the newspaper thing? It's like, really? That's what you're going to hold on to?
Yeah, I guess simply so that you can, suffocate under the carbon dioxide created by the piles of it.
Or be able to go, wait, 1 minute. I think I have an article about this.
Yes, you don't say.
And disappear forever.
Can I talk you into microfiche, perhaps? Like Fletch uses, which we had to learn how to use. There was an actual class on how to use microfiche in the library. So if you look at the technology, one of the things that I've said over time is that when we talk about, say, income inequality in this country, what we're really talking about is real estate. Because almost every other aspect of human life in America over time has, as far as the cost, has largely gone down and made accessible to even, lower middle class people, technology and appliances and television sets and the like at a cost point that is almost unheard of by 1950s standards. We all watch TVs get bigger and bigger and more expensive, and $9,000 for a ridiculous flat screen TV that was a projection TV onto a screen that had this huge box that one guy in the neighborhood had, and the rich kid had a television hooked up to it, and they spent a stupid amount of money on it for what was a shady picture that if the window was open, you couldn't see the TV at all. And that one rich family, and I remember in Peaks Mill, and when I grew up in Kentucky, there was a kid in town, and his family had this giant television set, and we didn't have one at all. So I just marveled at this thing. It was like being someone in Back to the Future. Like, nobody has 2 television sets, But now, one that size that is absolutely pristine costs about $300. That $9,000 monstrosity that took up half your living room is available for about $300, which is extraordinary and bizarre by the standards of the 90s and the 80s as far as what was available. I remember when flat screens were the purview of rappers on cribs, and it was a sign of wealth that you had one in your bathroom. That was one of the sketches we shot for my old sketch troupe, was the dude who couldn't use the restroom because he had so many flat screens in there, and I was making them out of cardboard boxes to try and make the bits. But over time, the camera that I'm using to stream my show right now is a Sony A5100. It's about maybe a $400, $500 camera. But the quality of it is equal to broadcast cameras used for television in the 90s on local news and national news. The quality of the sensor, the quality of everything. And the price of it, those cameras at that time was $10,000, $15,000. And musicians like Johnny and myself, have really loved the renaissance of recording at home. Now, is there something to going into a studio and focusing? Absolutely. Is there something to those old machines that you can't quite get? Yes, Lenny Kravitz. It's absolutely true. However, the ability to just do this from home when a music studio used to be a $500,000 endeavor for a musician who'd been touring for 10 years and, oh my God, they have a studio in their home, is now well within, desktop quality for anyone. You can do what we used to call CD quality, right? Remember, that was the big sales point for when things crossed over, on your own computer. Smartphones themselves, my iPad has more power than the computers that landed the NASA mission on the moon. So we're aware that technology is getting cheaper and more accessible on a scale that makes humanity have available to. There are 12-year-olds making a living creating apps in the App Store now. An entire industry, something that was impossible. Kids amassing fortunes that only kings had. I'm dead serious. This is incredibly inspiring if you look at it in those terms. The downside of that is that large corporations and governments in particular, because they have safety checks and quality checks that they want to maintain, because more of it rests on, if our hard drive fails, we go to Best Buy and complain and can I possibly get my data off this? Or you back it up onto CDs or something to protect the stuff that's really important to you. But with the government, you need 3 levels of redundancy. People could die because, planes could fall out of the air. There's all kinds of stuff that you have to do. So the infrastructure is much broader and more complex. But the available technology to the average person is the technological equivalent of a nuclear weapon. If in the wrong hands and used by somebody who knows how to code properly, the damage that they could do, shutting down the power at a hospital, for example, is something that could cause more loss of life than someone blowing the hospital up. That literally, the physical destruction of a bomb they could manage to personally smuggle in themselves and set off would not be equivalent to the number of people who died because their machines or the cataloging software that tells them what dose goes where and when could be shuffled and destroyed. So much so that it would end up, there would be a larger loss of life from that. We have been learning on the job as computer users for quite a long time in this country and all over the world. People, we now get updates on our phones in the middle of the night, largely because we're not aware of the security hacks where all day long, every day, people are trying to break into people's phones, figuring out a way to get into the iPhone or the Android software so that they can shuffle around in everybody's stuff, get your bank passwords, your social security number, your address, when you're home, all those kind of things all the time. And so they're constantly updating and they're constantly chasing down these, plugging these holes in the software. And every time they add a feature, they also add gateways. And that is effectively what has happened with the outsourcing of a lot of the software that the US government uses. And by using smaller vendors to do other subsidiary things, because it's based on this idea that the government can't do anything better than an industry can, than a business can, because the market really tells you what's quality. Well, the problem with the market is all customers are equal. In the world of cybersecurity, that's not true. You have to on a computer level be able to deny service, based on no shirt, no shoes, no clearance, no service. And this mismatch, and the Republican idea, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who are behind the eight ball in terms of, age, hipness, the idea that it's no big deal. The older members of the Senate often get crap because they don't know how a computer works, so they say words like interwebs, sure. But the younger ones, which are really not that young, think it's easier to fix and almost have an app mentality towards it, where if we got a hacker breaks in, just swipe right, they'll go away. They have, they were raised in a way to believe that it's actually easier than it is. The truth is in the middle. The truth is in the complexity of it. And the reality that the U.S. government is dealing with is that all these, the Republican idea that the market can always do any job better than government can, why then we don't have an only private military, we just hire whatever Americans to fight our wars every time, I don't know. Because they seem to understand that soldiers dedicating their lives to the freedom of other people goes beyond even price in their worth. We honor them, in ways that we don't honor our old iPhones that are no longer functional. You know what I mean? Which is the market response to something finishing its useful life. So they're aware of that in that regard. But the Republicans have had for a very long time a specific philosophy. Grover Norquist, was the guy who summed it up, that you want a government so small you can drown it in a bathtub. And I would say there are three tracks that the Republican Party has been running on for years that should be red flags to any voter. Anyone, I don't care if you're conservative in your values, but that should let you know that the Republican Party themselves do not represent your conservative values and are a danger to your life and your well-being. The first being that you should have a government so small you can drown it in a bathtub, because that completely misses the point that there are a lot of other governments and other leaders of other governments that would like to drown your government in a bathtub. So the Vladimir Putins of the world and the Kim Jong-uns of the world and the Xi Jinpings of the world and the Dutertes and the Bolsonaros and whomever else can side with Russia and Iran to create a consortium against you. If your government is that small and weak and incapable of pushing back on attacks, both in the information realm and in the physical realm, then you don't really have a country. It's amazing that these people want a wall and a border guarding what, though? A trash heap? A dysfunctional government and a failing infrastructure? That it is the most bizarre aspect of sort of republicanism for me, is the the government can't do anything right is the second one. The government can't do anything right. Industry can always do better, which is why I'm leaving private industry to go be a government employee, to just show you how bad it is. Republicans run on the idea that the government can't do anything right. Elect me so I can prove it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim Jordan, GYM, tweeted yesterday, you know what the best stimulus is? A job. As if the government, all of a sudden creates jobs now that, Trump's president. It didn't create jobs when jobs were created under Obama or Clinton. The government doesn't create jobs, guys. But as soon as Trump's in, we're creating jobs. This president created more jobs. He didn't actually create half the jobs that Jimmy Carter created, but even before the pandemic. But Jim Jordan's a job. Well, that's not then go get one. if the best stimulus check according to Jim Jordan is a job, then get out of government. Stop governing because you obviously think government is a waste of time. Go, in the immortal words of Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs, thrall me with your acumen. Go ahead, Jim Jordan. Go out and get a job so big it dwarfs the government. Start the next Google. Start the next IBM. Start the next Apple. You won't because you can't. Because you're a jacketless jerk, local representative, basically with a highfalutin job, pretending you became president because you will be his pit bull. The attack on our infrastructure by the Russians is the single greatest attack since Pearl Harbor. There is no other way to put it. And they know that this president will not only do nothing, but he will say nothing about it. We got to take a break. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. 773-763-9278 is our number. 773-763-9278. We'll be back right after this. Man, that Johnny May can rip. Look at me, 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 look at me.
I just noticed how good the guitar solo is in that Collective Soul song. The bar.
Yeah. He's a trumper.
He is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Collective Soul guys are conservative. The lead singer is, anyways. It's really weird. I mean, when any 90s band is, it's weird because you think of them as kind of being, more in line with Antifa. Like you see, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, like those guys when they were 15, you'd expect them to see, chucking cans of soup. But Jesus. And by the way, Trump just released his first statement addressing the Russia thing, just as we were, right before we went on the air, and I just saw it. So, and it doesn't it's exactly what you would expect. Yeah.
Is it good?
Come on me on YouTube. Okay. Absolutely, CSL. Will do. Dun, 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 dun. Thanks for joining us, guys, today. Thanks for all your help and support through this year as we've all kind of reconstructed our industry from scratch. It's been lovely you gathering with us on Saturdays especially, and those of you that have kind of poured it over and been there for the daily show that I've been doing regularly. I don't know what if the Ustream show became a radio show and the radio show became a streaming show, the streaming show becoming a television show is a very strong possibility. So stick with me and we'll try and make it worth your while. Okay, so go to this and then where are you?
Coming back in 10.
Thank you. It's go. Oh, there it is. Go live in the control room. Excellent. Thank you. Yes, smash the like. Don't forget to subscribe.
This is Doris Davenport, host of The Doris Davenport Show. All local, all the time. Now let's get back to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yeah, let's. So over the course of, looking back on this year and kind of recognizing that that the worst hadn't gotten behind us, that the number of dead would tick up continually through the end of the years, that there wouldn't be this drop off. If you'll recall, can we all just think for a second about how Trump was saying how you're not going to hear about COVID on November 4th, that it'll be over. Everything will open up. Everything's going to open up.
Amazing Ted Cruz
Oh, yeah.
Well, where he's just like, magically everything's going to open back up.
Yeah. No. But at the same time, Biden's going to shut everything down. Like this is why you have to work on messaging. This is why professional candidates, people who actually want to win, instead of just retreat off into Gripeville and make money off of it forever like Trump does. Over the course of him doing that, he crapped the bed so many times as far as messaging goes that his people were constantly scrambling to go, is this the new message now? Is it Biden shutting it down, or are they all opening it up? Where are we?
Right.
Are we talking about the governors, or are we talking about the president? Who is he running against? Is he running against Whitmer, or is he running against Biden? Is he running against both? Because if he's running against both of them, he's running against them the wrong way. He's not comparing them and trying to tie Biden to Whitmer and Whitmer to Biden and get Republicans in Michigan motivated to vote against both of them when they go out to the booth. He's basically conflicting his own message because he doesn't know which way is up. So over the while trying to look at this, hold on one second. Dink. While trying to gather what the president's ultimately going to say about this, if at all, and the fact that he'd been so quiet, somebody yelled at him in his staff or somewhere else and finally said, you got to say something. So he just tweeted this. The cyber hack is far greater in the fake news media than in actuality. I have been fully briefed and everything is well under control. Russia, Russia, Russia is the priority chant when anything happens because lamestream is,
oh my God,
for mostly financial reasons, petrified of discussing the possibility that it may be China. And in quotes, it may. So if he's been fully briefed, if it isn't, then it isn't. There could have also been a hit on our ridiculous voting machines during the election, which is now obvious that I won big, making it even more corrupted. Corrupt embarrassment for the USA.
Stop.
Yeah,
Go
and
he want to swear on the radio.
I know, and he includes DNI Ratcliffe and Pompeo on it. Now, the reason he does that is because Ratcliffe has been talking seriously about it, and Pompeo just came out and said that it was Russia and it's bad, that they're aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and he's now fighting with his own people again. And again, put aside all of your illusions about conservatism and your fear of the socialist boogeyman that's been bored into your head over the last decade, and understand that Trump is simply an ineffective and weak-kneed leader who follows the dictates of people like Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un and hires people because he allegedly knows the best people and can judge the best people, and we've had stupid people running everything, and then immediately says his people are the worst people ever and completely overrated and terrible at their jobs, and he barely knew them and he shouldn't have hired them, and he and it wasn't his fault. As a management official, what has he done his whole life? Look at his business. What has he done? He's hired
They fail and then he blames other people.
That's right. And he will hire people who will hide the crimes, Michael Cohen, Alan Weisselberg, and his own children, so that he can, because he can't find anyone else. No one else will work with him twice.
Right.
Except Mark Burnett, and that should tell you something. Because apparently, even though he's saying all this stuff about I really, really won, and I really, really won, and I'm a winner, and I won, he's been bringing up the fact that he might bring back The Apprentice. And would people be interested in the Apprentice? And he starts conversations with people randomly with two sentences. Do you remember The Apprentice? Which is a really weird thing for the star of the show to say. Can you? Okay.
I'm going to come out and say I don't like this guy.
Yeah, he's starting to grate on me a little bit.
He's starting, yeah.
Rub me the wrong way. Imagine me walking up to a group of people and going, hey, Remember Dude, Where's My Car? Do you guys remember Dude, Where's My Car? You know what I mean? Like, if I just wandered up to some strangers. Hey, you guys, you remember Lab Rats?
Talk Soup?
Hey, yeah. Do you guys remember Talk Soup? Maybe, hey, when I say I love the 80s, who do you think of? I mean, can you imagine, like, the embarrassment of my friend? If you were with me and I did that somewhere, would the cringe factor not just be... It would be.
I promise, as somebody who's been out in public with you in non-hoity-toity situations, you do not do that. But when approached by children in Whole Foods, you're incredibly gracious.
Well, that's how you do it, right? But if I did what Trump is doing, you'd probably check my pulse. You know what I mean? You'd reach over and go, "Oh my God, are you sick? Are you having a stroke? What's happening?" But he apparently has been doing that, and then at the same time pitching pardons to people. Hey, feel like a pardon? You know, a pardon? Anything you need a pardon for? Let me know. I don't know what the law is, and I don't know what I told you to do, but you probably broke the law while you're here. You want a pardon? You want a pardon? He is like throwing out. Oh, thank you. SD Sullivan said, "What is the third false thing about governing Republicans?" Because we went to this other thing, and so we went to government so small you can drown it in a bathtub. Went to there is nothing that industry can do that the government better than the government. And then the other one is whenever education or anything social is brought up, they fall back to things you cannot legislate. This is when we were talking about schools. We need more school funding. That's obvious. We as a country need to fund our schools like we fund our military to some degree. We need an army of intelligence in our country. We need to make sure that but the fear of indoctrination by the liberal left about science has made red states fight back against this all this time. And whenever you see a red state Republican especially talk about education, they want it controlled on the local level because they believe local teachers know better than international scientists, I suppose, is the idea.
Sure.
Or math has a zip code. But they always fall back on, we need more parental involvement. That's what we need. We need more, you know what? We don't need more funding for the schools. We need more parental involvement. Well, I got news for you. You cannot legislate parental involvement. You're not going to throw parents in jail.
It seems simple enough.
Yeah, I think
people would be receptive to it.
Right. What are you going to do? Throw parents in jail for not helping with homework? You think mandatory PTA meetings? Is that what you're going to do? Because you're not. The Republicans would never go for that kind of stuff. So when they say we need more parental involvement or family involvement, yeah, and
they just mean not my job.
Right. Not exactly. And that's just an excuse not to do your job to solve the parts that you can solve. You are abdicating responsibility for what you can do. It's like having the wrench that opens the fire hydrant, refusing to use it and saying we need more fireman involvement. That they need to get busy with their hoses. People need not to set their house on fire. We need fewer house fires. We need to have a community meeting I'll have a town hall about how we need fewer house fires instead of turning on the hydrant that I am the only one who has the key to. I am the only one who has the wrench that will open it. And I'm refusing to open it because I think, quite frankly, amongst my friends, that those are the houses that need to burn down. If we can be completely honest, they're an eyesore, and really they were never going to be good houses to begin with. That's the issue. So when we need a government so small that Vladimir Putin can kill it. We need that there's nothing that an industry can't do that a government can do, even though industries are all for sale all the time to everyone, no matter what. They take no oath and they don't care about the ramifications. They create products, and those products, when they die, do not get flag-draped coffins. They don't care about them, and they have no reason to care about anybody under an employee the same way we would care about a soldier, for example. There is a difference in how societies form governments to do certain tasks that industry cannot be trusted to do because they have no reason to be trusted to do. They are amoral. They're not necessarily immoral. Corporations aren't good or bad. They can be used for either, but that's not their purview. Their purview is to create a product for the public to use and either gather capital so that people can make a product that people need that they don't know they need yet, or that will improve on a product that they already have to make their life better and make something that's only available to rich people available to everybody. See cell phones, laptops, iPads, Bluetooth speakers, recording studios inside a phone. So those three bases are the root of it. When it's this industry that I want you to elect me to should not exist in the first place. It really should just be pitifully small. So let me in and I will make it pitifully small. Business does way better at this, but I'm going to join the government instead because I know business. And whenever I'm confronted with the shortfall that I've created in my governing capacity, it's really the community's fault. It's not me. It's not what I am not doing. It's that you guys aren't pulling your own weight in your normal life stuff. You're just not humaning enough. That's the root of the Republican Party. Is it the root of republicanism? Of conservatism? No. Eric's asking me, how far on the progressive scale are you? I don't know. I think I weigh the same as a duck. For all the Python references out there, it's a fair cup. And by the way, I think the bifurcating and trifurcating and quadfurcating of what exactly kind of progressive or liberal are you is essentially part of the problem too, the divide and conquer aspect of it. But this is a crucial part. We got to take a break. But the Republican Party is effectively dead as a governing, functioning party. And it's going to probably, a bunch of them are already doing to the party what they've done to Fox News. They're going to form their own OAN and Newsmax in the Patriot Party. Not the American Patriot Party.
No.
Just the Patriot Party. So you'll have to guess what country they're fighting for while they're living here, because it sure ain't this one. It sure ain't our Constitution. We'll be back right after this. A witch. Thanks, Esty Sullivan. And thank you for reminding me to get back on track to that. So those are two, that's the trifecta. That is the stool on which the Republican Party's entire philosophy seems to sit right now. And
You said stool.
Now, I don't know if... Because on a personal level, I accept the election as it was.
What?
But with this caveat that there's a lot that's hinky about Kentucky.
Really?
The ES&S machines that were used in, I think the Dominion flip about and the freak out is all cover for the fact that ES&S is being used in Texas, Ohio, Florida, and places like Kentucky to keep them strongholds because they're starting to slip. If you look at Louisville and Lexington, vast majority of the population of Kentucky lives in those two places. Very Democratic, very mixed. They called Kentucky Lexington because there's a lot of gays that live there, and there's no other way to, you can't call it Gazington, I guess. Because it's just it's a college town and there's an out community there, and it's not as hard right as Pikeville, right? Or one of those places. And there's a lot more of these, small constabularies that over time are drifting blue again, and it's scaring the crap out of them. And the fact that it was blazingly red is the sketchy part. It would be, these folks are, they're saying the quiet part loud, and that, over the course of watching Rudy Giuliani's shows, he talks about how they didn't expect to be losing to Trump so much that they had to print ballots in the middle of the night, which is basically what he's giving away what they did with the ES&S machines that don't give a receipt, that do run paper ballots through them, but then they're thrown out. The 86% of votes in the 2016 election had a paper trail. Had either paper ballots or gave a receipt to the poll workers, that came out with the machine.
Coming back in 10.
Thank you. Or were mail-in or absentee. 95 were this time.
This is Damian Perdue of Think Theory Radio, Saturdays at 6 p.m. You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Hello, Oregon. Hello, everyone. Hello, Mega Worldwide people. And we were talking during the break about the hinky election results in Kentucky and how they're blazingly red in spite of the growth in Democratic registrations, and how half of Democratic voters voted in the most popular election of our time. Turnout was insane everywhere but Kentucky. And the machines used in that state, were they the spooky Dominion machines? No, because the Dominion machines produce a paper ballot. They either when you do it electronically in person, either you go to the machines themselves, you enter in who you want, it prints out a paper copy that goes in an envelope that you give to the poll worker, that's filed, that matches up with a UPC symbol to the encoded version, the one that's counted electronically, and the paper version that they have stored until after they've already been, all the votes have been counted, and any recounts possible, which I think is 3 months from now. The time is, the statute of limitations on a recount has run out. Well, the ES&S machines don't operate that way, largely. Some of them do, not all of them. And it's beginning to look like, to me anyways, and this is, and by the way, for all of you that are getting into, are we questioning the integrity of the election? No, we're going with what it was. But going forward, I think it might be a really good idea to have an enormous overhaul of what it means to have a voting machine, what the paper receipt that Dominion used, which was the saving grace in the Georgia recount, in the Pennsylvania recounts where they double counted and made sure that in certain precincts they were right. In Wisconsin, the same thing, because they had them. And I've gone through on my show multiple times about one of the reasons why you couldn't hack, the Dominion machines specifically, was because of the 3 layers deep system that they set up with the Secretary of State's office, or the whatever electoral system they used in each state. Because
did you hear that they're getting a little legislating, that they're suing for defamation? Or
yeah, they're getting litigious about it, and they should.
Litigious, thank you.
They absolutely should, and more of that should happen. The irony that Trump is threatening still to not sign the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, which is a must-pass bill that funds the military. Thank you, Aggie. I don't even know what SEK stands for, but I love it. It's fantastic. That while they're doing this, the president wants 230, Section 230 of the Communications Act. He wants an amendment to the NDAA, this must-pass bill. He wants it included, and it didn't get included. He wants an amendment included that would strip out Section 230, which, of course, would get him and OAN and all these other businesses kicked off Twitter and YouTube and all that, and it would actually make censorship worse, because the platforms would be publishers and they would be more responsible legally for what was put on there, and so they could be sued themselves because they would be the deep pocket in this suit. So not only could the company sue whomever was, Rudy Giuliani and the Trump campaign for lying about Dominion machines, but Dominion could sue Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and what any other site, and YouTube, Google, for lifting those ideas up, because they are acting as publishers of those ideas, not just a platform on which they are spoken. And the president's own Twitter account would be shut down immediately, because Twitter would not be able to handle the financial liability of someone with his megaphone yelling, masks are no big deal, you can wear them if you want to, but it's not really important, and it kind of isn't. That in and of itself has killed people this year, and they would be liable for it if Section 230 was removed. Also, they would pick and choose what newspapers and magazines they would retweet, or allow to be retweeted, because they would have to enter into content contracts with those other publishers, because they are acting as subsidiary publishers of a publishing house. And so the legal it points to how stupid Donald Trump is at his base, but he wants that added to the NDAA. He won't sign it. And that would allow, in these lawsuits, the ability, for Dominion, basically, to make millions of dollars, if not billions, suing Facebook, for example, alone, just for floating all the conspiracy theories about it. I mean, all the people who've lost family members, the people who took hydroxychloroquine because the president yelled about it, the woman who's, her husband listened to it, they both took it, she was in intensive care, he died. They would be able to not just sue the president, because that information was carried on YouTube and Twitter, but also sue Twitter and YouTube at the same time, so they would have an impetus to remove him from doing that. But he won't. He's not going to do it. He hasn't done that. He's not going to push that. But and I totally lost where we were because there's so many stories flying in that part of it. But
what about Pence saying that the people in Space Force are going to be called Guardians?
Oh, don't.
Yep, he did it.
I
James
know.
Gunn is already trying to sue him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, they didn't copyright the Space Force logo initially. So the Netflix Space Force TV show used it and copyrighted it. So the government can't use it anymore. It is now just the logo of that show. So what did they do? They just went and ripped off Star Trek. They just stole the Star Trek emblem. They just went for it. Because Roddenberry wouldn't sue, I suppose. And they're calling them Guardians. Now, I saw one person, we'll end the hour on this because it's a little bit of a lighter note. Somebody was saying we need to get rid of and defund Space Force and use the money to give stimulus checks to everybody who's hurting. Okay. Apples and oranges, not related. No, we should pass a bill that draws money to give to people as stimulus checks, but not at the expense of any aspect of the military regardless. It's weird. I will say this, though. The Space Force as we know it, and Carl, who's one of our regulars in the chat room, will know this more than anyone, has been around for a long time under the Air Force, just not with a name and a logo and out in front. And basically what they did was they created hunter-killer spy satellites that kept the hunter-killer spy satellites from China and Russia from knocking our industry satellites out of the sky. So we, again, use private industry. And this is the interesting part. This is so indicative of what a failure Donald Trump is. We have always had Space Force. We have always had the ability to do this, and and it being unknown. And
is that the red shoes I've been wearing this whole time?
Yes, that's how we know.
I knew it.
Yes, we've always had a version of this, since we've had satellites up there, and since the possibility of a satellite. Basically, what the Russians and the Chinese can do is send up a satellite with a piece of junk in it with a little projectile air pump on it, and all it has to do is position itself next to one of our satellites, fire the projectile out of it, which can just be a piece that will look like space junk. It doesn't have to be a missile. They don't have to blow it up with a laser beam. They just have to knock it into a degrading orbit until it falls out of the sky. And so they can limit our telecommunications. They can destroy our ability to see things. They've done it for a long time. We've pushed back. There's this quiet war going on of satellites in our sky all the time. It's been going on since the Cold War. What we don't have is cyber force. And watch for some. I mean, we have definitely an arm of the government that pushes back against cyber attacks and the like. But we don't have a greater DNI level organization of the Army or one particular organization that handles it. It's a myriad of bodies overlapping. So Space Force got a name and a label, and he pretends he created something. But the Cyber Force is basically where we were with our intelligence groups pre-9/11. They don't share information, they overlap in some areas, and they're always stepping on each other's feet. And we do need a coordinated cyber force. So, Joe Biden, your turn to just to stiff arm Trump and create cyber force. And the soldiers of cyber force will be called ROMs. They'll be called Space Knights. We'll be back right after this. That's right. Yeah, Kenneth in the chat room is saying, correct, Space Force is a rebranding of the National Reconnaissance Office, Patrick Air Force Base. Now, wait, hold on, scrolling faster than I can read. At the Cape Canaveral Space Force gathering. Oh, and then the chat, yeah.
We got a call from Ike so far.
Oh, right on. Okay, cool. We'll talk to Ike at the top of the hour. That's great. I feel like the stimulus will never happen. You're looking at, Jamie, I think it's going to be a $600 check. It will be pitiful. That's the only thing that's going to get through. And it's going to basically here's what's happening. More stimulus will go through because the Republicans have a reason to not let the economy crash. The Mitch McConnell's anyways. His wife owns a shipping company. If people aren't buying stuff, nothing needs to get shipped. So if the economy crashes, they crash. So they want it. They just want the bill on Biden's tab. You understand what I'm trying to say? They want this to be, look at the debt that went up under Biden. So they want to wait until he's officially in office so it's on his tab. It's the same thing that happened to Obama. Look at all the people who went on food stamps under Obama. Yeah, because Bush crashed the economy. Yeah, the extension, there'll be an unemployment extension as well, but it'll be temporary, if anything, by the end of it. Again, they want it to happen after Biden. They will pass it, but they want it to... Johnny had to go use the facilities, I think. He'll be back. His cat is sitting in. Hasn't the debt and deficit increased 3 times under Trump already? Yes, it's the deficit is triple what it was under Obama. Now, after it's way larger this year, obviously, but it was double the entirety of his presidency. It took him about 6 months, and we got on track to have double the deficit that Obama had. And Obama was still operating on a recovery footing. They were spending more. So, the Space Knights of Motang, that's us. I did not watch the season finale of The Mandalorian. I have not watched the whole season yet. Don't say anything. I don't really care. Nothing will really spoil it because I enjoy watching things for the joy of watching them. So, yeah. Francie, I agree. The GOP cannot govern. I will go so far as to say that has never been their actual reason for existing. They don't want to. Yep. Hey, he's back.
Hey.
Donk, 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 donk. Pew!
I managed to poop in that short time.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It went well.
Did it?
Yeah.
A straight up disco dump. So, okay. So you just topped it off. You didn't go you didn't do the full deal like a sports dump where you go like I don't have to do the full engagement.
Yeah. It did have the vibe of this is more of an overture.
Right. Yeah. Let's not pretend we're really committed to this endeavor.
Right, exactly.
No.
It knows I'll be back.
Yep.
And listening audience, Hal and I began with potty humor. We will die with potty humor.
Yeah. It's the one thing that kind of leaves you free. It's the great equalizer.
Yep, truly.
Everyone at some point in their life will look back at the bowl and be disappointed.
Or proud.
No, not everybody.
Oh, come on. You're never proud?
I didn't say I was never proud. I'm just saying not everybody will get there. Some people are just always...
Yeah, it will always be a shame trigger for those losers.
Yeah, right, who can't learn to enjoy the gifts that God has given us. That farts make a funny noise. Like... You imagine God scrambling to make the fart noise at the last second? You know what I mean? Where he's like, oh no, they have to release gas somewhere, but it comes out silent and everybody's mad at each other. They've started killing each other, whatever. What if I make it sound funny? And then they'll just laugh. It worked. Yay!
It totally worked.
Yeah. God, yeah.
I was completely called out by my wife last night. We had a nice pizza dinner, and she left to go like take her contact lenses out, and I was alone in the dining room, and I was walking around and
trumpet solo.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, what was that?" Like this total like. Like she knew exactly what it was.
Come here, I'll show you.
Video streaming at House Farm.
The Dutch oven, the Dutch apple pie. It's terrific.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
So, at this point, the mask is off.
Pick up where we left during the break.
Yes, right. We're gonna act like we were adults during the whole thing. And some people were asking during the break, and this is kind of an important point. And I need people to understand this. And we have Ike on the line. I want to talk to him in just 1 second, but I want to address this real quick and clarify this. A lot of people are saying, "Are we going to get a stimulus? When's the stimulus coming? Why are they dragging their feet? What is it about? Why won't they do a complete package? They know the economy's in danger. It benefits them financially to do this. How do Republicans who supposedly love, look at the bank numbers and not freak out and know that we're headed towards a crash if there's not a huge stimulus package?" And I'll tell you why they're dragging their feet. Because they want it to be on Biden's tab. Mm-hmm. They want to the stimulus bill they will pass after Biden swears in the week following will be the bulk, large size one, bailout one that gets the money, the $8 billion to the states to get the vaccine out, all this stuff. But so that they can look back historically and go, look at the cost of the Biden years. That's what they're doing. They just don't want the cost of Trump's era on Trump's budget. So they are waiting until the budget.
They're spending money everywhere else.
Right.
So it's like really what history is going to show is that they spent money just on the military and themselves.
Right. But they'll act like that's just the normal function of business. They're just looking at the number and they're going to go, the budget went up, the deficit went up, the debt went up under Biden, it spiked. Just like they said about Obama, more people were on food stamps under Obama than any other president in history. Well, that's because Bush crashed the economy, and for the first 2 years, we were struggling to recover after the worst crash since the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. I love Trump's, this is the slowest recovery since the Great Depression. It's also the largest economic downturn since and you haven't had any downturn, like he had a recession in January. He's hidden it under the weight of the fact that he's just botched COVID. Ike's on the line though. I want to get to him.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste this entire segment chatting. Is he with us? Do we have him? Do we have Ike?
Yes, he's here.
Happy New Year.
Hey, brother.
Merry Christmas.
Happy
Hanukkah,
holidays, right? Whatever holiday you enjoy.
Festivus.
Mm-hmm.
Kwanzaa. Flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah, right. Winter solstice. Right.
There you go.
Yep. I think we've covered most of them.
Yeah, man. I mean, this whole thing is it's just wearing people out.
Mm-hmm.
You can't drink. You can't drink.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take in the media from a fire hose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they went from 24 hours of Trump every damn day.
Right.
And now it's just damn COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting them to start up a channel to where all you do is see people come in, sit down on a chair,
and get a shot. Right.
Get up and they walk out.
Right.
I might watch that.
Well, that's Ike, you make a really good point. Is that usually, cable news itself, the movie Anchorman makes the joke that basically cable news, CNN, is basically local news blown up to a national level. The overimportance of localized stories nationally to make everybody think that if there was a break-in in Bakersfield, there's been a break-in in your neighborhood because all of a sudden it's, overlaying with where you are. And in terms of like COVID, the heartwarming stories of people getting their shots and how does it feel and trying to get more people comfortable with it. The motivating factor is like, how do we get people to get the vaccine if we've had this disinfo war machine going on both from the Russians and the Chinese and the Republican Party about not taking vaccines in general, but also not taking this one in particular. Even though the disease is a hoax, but the vaccine's real, but you shouldn't take the vaccine, even though Trump says it's safe because I don't know. It's hard to the overlapping Roseanne craziness is weird.
It's just a meanwhile.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you go and you get some real news,
yep.
You know, they always complain and they talk about the average American doesn't know where other countries are on the globe.
Right.
They don't know this. They don't know that. Well, you know, I happen to be able to get news on my PBS station. I get an hour or two of DW out of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I get NHK out of Japan. I get, you know, I've got different news sources where if I really want to know what's going on around this world, instead of sitting here watching this stupid crap that they call news in this country, I've got to go to these other stations that actually have reporters in these other countries, and they report on the murders and the refugees and the environmental issues and etc. Otherwise, you're not going to get any news at all from these idiots on this side of the pond, man. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous.
Well, I do think there's definitely a hyper. Right, I do think there's a hyper prioritization of it because of the two levels. One is the awareness that there is a disinfo campaign against vaccines in general, and that the only way that the vaccine gets into enough people to where it actually affects life in America and can get us back to some level of normal is if a good majority of people actually do it. And right now, they're looking at the statistics in this country, and getting people to take the vaccine is priority number one. Getting them to understand, alleviating their fears or addressing them from a news cycle standpoint. There really isn't anything else that they can do, that you can do anything about, you and I can do anything about. You know, the cyber war that's going on, is out of our hands.
I suppose to make it more clear. Let me make it more clear.
Right.
Okay? If you go and you watch CBS, okay, you're going to get some news.
Right.
If you go and watch ABC, particularly the morning shows, okay, through the week,
right,
okay, it seems like ABC can't do nothing but about 15 or 20 minutes of serious news,
right,
of any sort. And then the next thing you know, they're selling you hair care products and telling you how to take care of your skin in the winter. And look, let's look at the new, cookie recipes and all this entertainment crap. We're getting fed a line of garbage. This damn vaccine don't matter for nothing, because if anybody out there with half a damn brain had any brains at all, you know what you got to do. You've been told this since last March. And that's what we've been doing. The people that know what to do, we've been doing it.
Do it.
You wear a damn mask, and you protect yourself, and you don't have to worry about it. Okay, but because we've got these knuckleheads, and that's the other thing. You talk about burnout. Look, I'm tired of these Trump tards. I don't give a damn about them anymore.
Right.
I don't give a damn about the Republican Party. If you don't know who they are by now, you're as stupid as they are.
Right.
What more do you need to know? Look at Ron Johnson yesterday on the floor of the Senate. Oh, now we've got to worry about the deficit. Just exactly what you knew they were going to do, they're doing it.
Yep.
They don't care about the American people. They're working for a whole other country. And, I think they're a bunch of fascists. Oh, and my last thing, I'll close it with this because this has been scattershot. I haven't really made my point at all.
Sure.
But you were talking about products.
Yeah.
Okay. I disagree with you. I think what they're doing and what they're trying to do is, if you haven't noticed, is everything they want to sell you, they want to turn you into a revenue stream, whether it's streaming Hulu or whether it's streaming this or streaming that. They want a certain amount of money out of people every month. Okay? And there's a guy out there that wrote a book or presented a theory, and this is his idea. In the near future, you're not going to own the air conditioner on your house. You're not going to own the heater. You're not going to own your stove. The same way that you're not going to own a car, okay? Basically what they're saying, what the guy's saying is, he says, the way that they build products now, they build them to break down over a certain period of time, so you'll have to go out and buy another one.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you rent it, they will build a better product because they're going to be the ones responsible for fixing it.
Sure.
Think
okay.
about it.
All right.
And that way, they've got a revenue stream just like your heat and air in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you own a house,
right?
Well, you can put their equipment in. What do they try to get you to do? Sign up on a yearly thing so they can come look at the thing and do this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
They want the revenue stream, but they also have if you've got an insurance or if you've got some sort of a liability on them and the people that built the machine in the first place, well, then they're liable for it when it breaks down, and they've got to eat the cost.
Right.
So they're going to build a better product.
Well, that's entirely possible. What you're talking about is effectively mortgaging stuff, so that you can get more for your money in the short term than you would if you had to save up and buy it outright. Solar has been a big shift in that. A lot of people like renting effectively the solar system on their house instead of trying to pay for a solar system outright and just using their electrical bill to pay for it over time. That model kind of works. There's also, beyond the, planned obsolescence or the idea that the mystery of the everlasting spark plug as haunted since the days of Chrysler and Lee Iacocca, spending more on PR than R&D. And that's been a problem with American companies. It was for a while, especially late 80s into the 90s. It changed over time to an idea called minimum viable product, which is what Apple does, what these other ones do, is that there will never be the perfect iPhone because we don't know how people are really going to use it. We think we do. We think we know what you want from your phone, but we can't know until we get one in your hands. So we're going to give you the best one we can make right now, not spend the next 10 years trying to make the phone you'll have forever, because we wouldn't, it's an adaptive technology in the first place. I mean, look at telephones over the course of your life. The change has been extraordinary, right? As far as turning us into a revenue stream, I'm not as big into the kind of matrix idea that the only reason technology is created is just so that, that they're all milking machines. Because they themselves, is the consumer milking the tech companies. Because I get to pick which one I want. I get to pick which one serves me better ultimately. And if I don't like some of those services like TikTok, which I think is malware, I don't add it and I shut it off. Even as much as people are like, you should have it, it should have it, you should have it. I mean, there was this big push. There was a huge push to get everybody on TikTok. They were paying everybody from Howie Mandel to all these, in the beginning of TikTok, all these influencers that they were going, here, we'll give you $1 million to go, I love TikTok. Yeah. Here's my new TikTok. And that's just sales, just a product rolling out like any other, like some can of root beer. It's the same strategy. It's just, I'm not going to do it. And as long as it's optional, I'm cool with them trying to convince me.
Let me close out by telling everybody for real in the chat room and etc. Y'all have a good holiday.
Absolutely.
Keep your head down. Keep your mask on.
Right.
And when you're talking about products, I'll give you one example that you're not thinking about. And it's a perfect example. It's the light bulb that Edison built. That's in that firehouse up there in Maine, I think it is, and it's still lit, and it's over 100 years old. They figured out a long time ago that they couldn't keep making them like that, and that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Planned obsolescence. They want to turn you into a revenue stream, whether it breaks down and you got to replace it all at once, or whether you put it on a maintenance program, or whether yada yada. And the idea is just don't own it in the first place. Pay a monthly whatever the hell. But that's what they want, continuous revenue stream. They cannot build anything that's going to last forever, because if they do, they won't have a revenue stream.
Well, but in terms of technology, for example, light bulbs being what they are, I
saw it on a bumper sticker, Hal. I saw it on a bumper sticker. It said sit down, shut up, consume, and behave. And that's the motto for the American people, and that's what they're doing to us.
I hear you. I do. I also, as a fan of technology, having grown up with it all my life and knowing the opportunities that it gave me that I would not have had unless I was born into some sort of like blue blood family in the Northeast, the fact that I've had the availability of advancing computer technology, both to even cut my own demo tape, on my computer as an actor in the 90s, when that didn't exist for people like me a decade before. You had to go to a service. It cost you money. You had to get copies of your shows. You couldn't tape them off TV yourself.
Like, you don't know how to splice tape? Come on, brother.
I do know how to splice tape. That's the ridiculous part. I know how. But that's what I'm saying is that there's a line between those two things that's important.
Look at what it's brought us, Hal.
Me in your house every damn day. It's terrible. I understand.
It's brought us all these other idiots like the Tiger King and this crap that we don't need in the first place.
Well,
the more noise that comes out of the machine, the more you want to close your ears down and go, you know what? I just don't want nothing to do with none of you. If you want to go out there and get tattoos on your face, if you want to drag your pants around behind you, if you want to stick stuff in your face and steel rods and everything else, have at it, because I think y'all are a bunch of damn idiots. Guess what? At some point, progress becomes
overrated.
Absolute garbage.
Well, a lot of times it steps on its own feet. You're absolutely right. I adore you, Ike. We're way over the break, but I wanted to continue talking to you. So have a great holiday, my friend. Don't consume anything except food and whatever joyous imbibe that makes you happy. And I think of you often, and I wish you well. And I genuinely mean that. I look forward to seeing you on the other side of this at some point. So take care of yourself, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon. We'll be back right after this, guys. The Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Now with 100% more, Johnny Million. J-Million1, is that the Twitter handle? Johnny Million?
It's Johnny Million 1.
Johnny Million 1, the number one. But he also won because he's a winner. We'll be back. Hi. Morning. Hello. How are you?
Is that Summer or your cat?
Summer. Yeah. Although the cat was trapped in a closet while I was doing my show last night, I thought he was outside my office door meowing to get in, and I was like, "What is with him? He just won't let up." And then I go over and he's just stuck in there, and I think he peed while he was in there because he's like, "I'm trapped and alone." Poor guy, but he's fine. Love you. Hey, Murphy, what are you doing?
Turn on the sink for me, Hal.
Yeah, right. Turn on the sink. Hello. Hi, buddy.
We have more callers, by the way.
Oh, excellent. Love you.
I found a nice account on Twitter called Giant Cats. And it's just somebody photoshopped a bunch of cats into military situations where they're
just like AT-ATs.
As big as the planes and the missiles and everything.
Hal cereal T-shirt fortified with Johnny Million fiber. What?
It is pretty fun when you did that. Like 2 people followed me in a hot second.
Look
Thank you,
that.
Tony Klein and Rick Hyphen.
Nice.
Oh, I'm sorry. Rich Hyphen, wear a mask, you dummy.
This is Tom Hartman, and you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
Take a breath.
Yeah, we just gotta. And by the way, for those that were asking, Molly Hatchet is doing fine. The feral we took in with, they got her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she was originally called Luna because she's moon colored. And she's basically she's a completely white cat, but she was so dirty. She had like gray spots all over her. So she looked like the lunar surface. She's now Molly because Summer likes M names for the cats. We have Murphy, Maddie, and Molly now. And but I only acquiesce because I made her name is Molly Hatchet. So yeah, I'm cool with that.
Disaster.
That's right. That's where we've made our own, that's where the line was drawn. And I call her Molly Moon sometimes when I'm looking for her. I'm like, Molly Moon, where are you? And she's really adorable. But her tail is half missing, so it's constantly up. So she looks like a pointer dog.
Aww.
And she steps up like a pointer because she's always nervous about stepping down because whatever happened to her, she kind of she treads lightly. She's a wise cat. but she's doing very well. Some people were asking. She's now allowed out of the bathroom where she was sequestered and COVIDed into the bedroom, and now out into the hallway. We're slowly introducing her to the house and the other cats because, yeah. So, anyways, people who are curious about that. I also posted a couple of dogs that are looking for adoption, one in Baker, California, and those kind of things. If you're in those areas, just follow me on Twitter at Hal Sparks. I don't go full Keith Olbermann, but every so often an animal will come up that's, by the way. And apparently someone thinks I'm wearing a wig. That's a point of pride. That's like when somebody goes, nice facelift, and I'm like, aw, that's sweet. I'm glad. Look, all right.
I'm just puffy.
Yeah, right. I'm just sleepy. Right. Yeah. And I've never, it's funny. I've never done Botox, nor would I. It just doesn't interest me. You know what I mean? And I've heard, it gets talked about a lot in the political realm and and I saw yesterday an ad for Botox on television, and it was the first time I ever seen where, in the legalese, that it had been linked to things like ALS and other diseases. Jeez. And I was like hard break stomp seemingly for anybody thinking of sticking botulism in their face. And to anybody who's considering that, you look fine. You look fine. You look fine. And there's all sorts of exercises you can do on your cheeks and your forehead that will make your face stronger. You just have to remember to do them. And ice packs and what else? What was the other? What did Paul Newman do? He always shoved his face in a sink full of ice water every morning.
Like Huey Lewis and I Want a New Drug?
Yes, that's what it was. The new drug he wanted was an ice bath. But so apparently Paul Newman did that instead of Botox, and he lived a long while, and he was a charitable human being. I'm just saying. Yeah. So, anyways, we have other callers. Let's grab one before we get to the mid-break. So, who do we have on the line? And
First is David from San Francisco.
Excellent. Hey, David. Welcome.
Oh, howdy, Hal and Johnny. Yeah, I'm glad I followed Mike. He brought up a good point about, you remember how the slaves, there was an old discussion of whether or not slave owners would want to work their slaves to death, or whether they would intentionally, they would handle them with good food and good quality shelter and in exchange for their undying work. And so if the corporate state has basically set up an economic plan where the people are to be the product, then where is our service contract? Do the people get a health care plan, or are we still going to be milked to death by the corporate state economics? And I don't know if you've paid attention in the last day or so as they've been delivering these vaccines. Well, the vaccines aren't showing up, and these things are in a hard.
I heard about that.
And and these freezers are melting on the storage docks.
Well, the issue they had, and the Pfizer shipments going out because the White House and part of Operation Warp Speed and the task force, it's not anyone's surprise that they are not a functional organizing group at this point. They never have been, but especially when it comes down to the brass tacks of it. When Trump is going, get a vaccine fast, to a bunch of companies that are actually doing the work that have nothing to do with him, and the two companies that actually were successful were the ones that didn't participate in Operation Warp Speed. They were obviously contracted to sell it to the government quickly, so they got some seed money, which was what that was, but they were not directed or controlled or in conference with the task force. The ones that were still have not released theirs yet, and are behind schedule, arguably, and have a lower standard. The Pfizer ones that aren't going out on the dock, apparently the story is, and I don't doubt that there's some mismanagement going on, but the main reason is because the government wasn't going to fly them into some places just in this week because of weather, and that they didn't want to lose some of the shipments being stuck on tarmacs or stuck in airplanes in the 6 hours or whatever away from the bigger freezers when they couldn't get them into another freezer from the space that they're in, that they're not ruining in the warehouse for Pfizer. They can store it. They know how to do it. It's where they're going that matters. So I get that.
Well, I would hope that that was true.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see how many states in how many different directions, and they don't have weather patterns in all of those states.
So, part of them was going out was the issue.
Yeah. In Florida alone.
Mm-hmm.
Florida's not having some ice storm, and they're missing apparently two loads of 500,000 doses apiece now.
Right.
And these things are piling up. But Pfizer has an obligation to produce 2 million a day,
mm-hmm.
and these are being delivered at the rate of about 600,000 a day.
Oh, I don't doubt that there's, like I said, I wouldn't say that would qualify where you've got an overlap between government and industry trying to screw the people. In this case, you've got Pfizer who wants to sell this product, and it's already sold, arguably. They have a contract, and they're producing the stuff. That there are people in the government, specifically the Trumpsters, slow-walking stuff because of their own grudge against the electorate. Right. Which is different than a corporate ethno-state kind of idea, or corporations as people running things.
Pfizer's press release says that the White House, that they've got it. The White House has got it all centralized to them,
mm-hmm.
and that they're not doing the deliver option or the deliver orders. So this is a scam, and again, we put it into the hands of Jared and Donald Jr. and whatnot. To do the deliveries, and they're slow walking it just like Brownie did with Katrina.
Well, and so, Louis DeJoy has done with veterans' medicines.
Yeah. Well, it's not just veterans; it's all of us.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like what Louis DeJoy did with slowing down the mail service affected a lot of veterans in rural areas who get their prescriptions through the mail. And I was just linking it to there's a pattern of behavior here. Yeah.
Well, I think they're trying to kill us. I think it's just plain as day. They're trying to kill us. They know there's not enough jobs in the future, and that if we're going to be part of corporate state economics and we're disposable, they'll dispose of us.
Yeah, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to go that far with it yet. I do have a feeling from the Ron Johnsons of the world that there is a what George Carlin called passive eugenics going on, depraved indifference. It's not that they want to kill us or will kill us, but anytime that they can just kind of fall back. Thank you, Billy. We got to take a break. I appreciate the call. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back right after this. We rolled into that break a couple minutes, but I think he was worth it, and I'm glad we got to have that conversation. We'll be back right after this. Yeah, see, I think that it's depraved indifference. I think there's a bunch of Darwinists posing as Christians in the Republican Party that have been talking about the need.
Don't believe in natural evolution.
Yeah, right. But believe that in the superiority of natural selection, and that they are it. They have this illusion that they are absolutely. They would make it, which is the irony of it, because in a foot race in a zombie outbreak, I mean, Trump is a snack. Everybody in his family goes down in seconds. The only reason Don Jr. might survive for a little while is because he would trip other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hal Vickery. I mean, I think it's depraved indifference. I think they don't care, and that's enough. All Putin needs is for Trump not to care. He doesn't need him to be an active agent. That's what a useful idiot is for. So, yeah. And the interesting thing is in the irony. Maybe we'll talk about this when we come back. I've always found the whole idea that the vaccine is what they're going to use to kill you to be a fundamentally flawed idea, if indeed your goal was to kill the vast majority of people on Earth. Because do I save it for the air, or do we even talk about that on the air? Because it's weird. Mm. It's a little bit of and we got calls. But the idea being that, let's say you ever played the "If I Was Evil, What Would I Do" game, where you're just kind of like, okay, what's the worst they could come up with, and you just kind of do it like so that if you're confronted with that, you know how to answer it. We used to do it in martial arts, like. You go, what if it's a right cross? What if it's a straight punch? What if it's a kick? What if it's a thing? And you run through the scenarios multiple times, and you practice receiving those strikes so your body gets used to the idea so that if they come, you're ready for them. What if they were hiding a knife? What if they, have a gun? What if you're this far away, this far away? Like, you run those patterns so you know. And then if you're you're the one giving it, you try to be as sneaky and as awful as possible. You try to get as close as possible before shooting the straight punch, or you try to, fake and then roundhouse, that kind of stuff, so that the person you're training with will be ready in case somebody tries to sucker punch them or something like that, because you're training together. So I guess that.
I'm Dick Kay from Back on the Beat, and here is the Mega Worldwide Radio Program with Hal Sparks.
So that obviously leads into a conversation about one world governments and depopulation strategies, and is there a pentavolate? Is there is the Illuminati trying to thin the herd? I'm just going to flat out say no. The large portions of the death, destruction, sadness, and war and viral spread and people making money off of other people's sorrow, dread, death, and illness is largely opportunistic humanity. It is not a coordinated strategy by some sort of Rockefeller or George Soros-run family. It is simply not. It just isn't. And anybody selling you that is trying to oversimplify the complexities of life. And the reality is that there are corporations who are working really hard to create a product they think you'll like because they want you to buy it, but they also want it to be useful, so you trust them if you want to buy something in the future, and they like making those kind of things. They like making computers. They like making phones. They went into it because they were like, I could make the greatest thing ever. The Steve Jobs of the world in that regard. Then there are people who are born on top of oil who couldn't give a crap what you do with it, whether you put it in your car that is very efficient so that you can drive to your job as an organic farmer, or if you put it in a Jeep to drive someplace to kill some villagers. They don't care. They were born on oil, and you need it, and they'll sell it to whoever will buy it for the highest price. There is a human strategy and a human way of living for every human on the planet. There are 7.6 billion of us right now. We're not even near, by the way, I know people like to clamor about there's too many people on Earth. We're not even near the maximum level of humans the Earth can sustain, which is close to 16 billion regularly, where everyone actually has enough to eat and actually function without standing on each other's shoulders, without ghettoizing the entire world as far as cramped quarters. We will probably top out at 9 billion because of life and death cycles and how when people get more educated, they have fewer children, and as education spans across the world in the largely populated areas, and people start having fewer children, matching with the societies that are still having them, that it tops out around 9 billion. And that's, call me on it in 10 years. We'll talk about it again, but I'm right. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that the Republicans and to some degree, I suppose, the YouTube conspiracy theorists and stuff, try to drive that constant wedge between you and the evil, business plans or schemes of your fellow American, your fellow world citizen. That the vast majority of that corporations themselves are the left-wing version of corporations or people is that they are Frankensteins. They are monsters that seek nothing but to consume and eat your face. That when in reality they are large groups of people, several of whom are just doing a job that they trained for, that they got hired for, a bunch of whom want to make more money and move up the corporate ladder, other people who want to retire and move out of the industry or go do something else, or they got trapped in that career ladder and want to jump over to another one because they're bored or sad or sick of their life, and other people go, yeah, I started this business because my dad told me I couldn't. There's as many reasons for having a business and starting a business, and the majority of the businesses and corporations in this country are small businesses, and the Republicans have sought for a long time to pretend that they are the party of small businesses, when indeed they are the party of multinational corporations, and that all corporations are alike. And if you're against multinational corporations, you're against small business, that kind of thing. And the Democratic Party for a long while has focused on being the party of workers. who apparently need someplace to work, and would facilitate the need for companies large and small. So before we get Roseanne and out over our skis and assume that there is this active depopulation scheme run by George Soros and Bill Gates and fall into some version of that, I'm here to tap the brakes on that and say stop that silliness and recognize that life is as complex as you are, and the world is full of complex human beings doing different jobs for different reasons all damn day. And if you attribute a nefarious overarching scheme to a giant world-controlling corporate government entity, you don't recognize that there are many of those multinational companies and international families that have been hoarding wealth that are fighting with each other for dominance all the time and don't match up and have generations of stupid kids who, while they may Fred Trump their way into a lot of money, their Don Trump kids will ruin it and burn the whole thing down in a generation. That it took them, took them 5 decades to build it, and their stupid kid spends all the money in 8 years. It happens all the time. It simply does. And so I'm going to remind everyone that we just had a functional election where 95% of the votes cast had some sort of paper trail attached to them. The last election, 2016, 86% did. We are now at 95% of votes in this country, and largely because they were mail-in. That had a huge impact and a leap forward, and it's not going to change because a lot of people who voted by mail this time are going to continue to vote by mail in the future because they're just going to keep signed up for it, and they're going to continue to be signed up for it. And unless a state passes a law that says you're not allowed to, you need a special reason where they'll just, well, I like to vote, so I'm going to come up with my special reason because I love voting that way. It's going to expand. And we're going to get to a situation where you've got 98% of the electorate voting when they vote, having a paper trail that they can trust. And it's going to take us 15 years. And like this cyber attack, there's going to be fits and starts like they have been all along where banks got hacked and kid hackers found their way into the DOD, and then they shut those walls down, and by shutting those doorways or those pathways down, they created more pathways. Then they understood, oh, this is how we create stuff without creating more pathways. And we find ourselves with the cyber attack again, which I brought up in the very beginning as the single greatest attack on the United States since Pearl Harbor. It is ongoing. The president's only statement about it has been to deflect away from Russia, where, by the way, Pompeo, everyone in the State Department, everyone in the CIA, everyone in the FBI, everyone in the DNI, everyone on the Intelligence Committee, including all the Republicans, knows full well it was the Russians. And what does Trump do? It can't be. It's Russia, Russia, Russia. You guys just say Russia. It probably was China. We're on the outs with China anyways because of COVID. Nobody even wants to build their plants anymore there. So people are moving to Vietnam and stuff like that. I don't even have to worry about the business aspects of China anymore the way we did when I came into office. So we'll just make them the scapegoat, throw it all on them, and I can still be buddies with Vladimir Putin when this is all over. Trump Tower, Moscow, baby. So understand that this idea that there's a ghost, there's a monster outside the village, that if you venture outside the village will get you, is the strategy everybody fears. Because effectively, both in the in the cyber attack world of Russia, which is really a paper tiger as far as being a country right now, most of their infrastructure is failing. They have all kinds of explosions and problems at their power plants. Their people make less than $9,000 a year on average. They have mass poverty issues. Their president is a grifter, and he apparently is stepping down next year because he's ill.
Really?
Yes. He apparently has Parkinson's, is the whisper. He very well may have just had COVID and had a series of strokes from it and may think that that's it, because I don't know. I think they pushed all their good doctors out windows. So it's hard to know what the medical establishment in Russia is worth these days. But we live in a very complex world where everybody's trying very, very hard, and the vast majority of the people on Earth are waking up every day trying to make the world better, make their lives better, raise their kids, be happy, try to and would run to a burning car to pull somebody out of it. I truly believe that about my fellow man, and I will stay that way. And anybody who tells you different is selling you something to make you afraid of them so they can keep you boxed in, like somebody in an abusive relationship saying everybody else in the world will kill you if you go outside. You're only safe with me. I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not going to allow it in my presence. I don't believe it, and I'm not going to live that way. And the idea of the corporate boogeyman on the left wing side is the same as the vaccine boogeyman on the right wing side to some degree. There is a lot of complexity. We need to live with that complexity, and we need to operate within that complexity. And that's just reality. Are there scheming corporations that absolutely want to undermine and corner the market on products? Should we have antitrust laws and the like? Absolutely. Are there Enrons in the world and Trump organizations in the world that take advantage of the tax code to try and cut themselves a bigger slice? And should those people be, arrested and thrown in jail to show that we are a country where equal protection under the law is the central tenet of our system? Yes. Are there two sets of laws sometimes because of convenience or fear in our country? Yeah. But that doesn't mean that that the world is stranger danger. It doesn't. And honest to God, unless you're telling me you go to work every day trying to come up with a way of doing as little work as possible to harm as many people as possible while making as much money as possible, then that's a weight you have to carry on your back. But I don't believe that of my fellow man. It certainly isn't my experience of the folks I'm lucky enough in my chat to speak to every single day, and my friends in the world, and the people that I've run across that are like that in business in the world, have all fallen through the cracks, have all gone under over time. They like Roy Batty have shined very brightly but burned out very quickly, and that's part of the reason why. So it's a little bit of a moral rant on my part, but I think it's really important, and I will always defend complexity here. And it's why also, if you look at what they called the Trump voter, the people who voted for Trump in the last election, that half, if not more, are Republicans who are scared to death of the socialist boogeyman, which is not something, which is the reachable part on our side. And I think arguably what Bernie Sanders was trying to say when he was like, we need to reach out to the Trump voters, the populists, the people who fear that they're not going to have a job, that their usefulness is gone, that their towns are going to die, and that nobody cares about them. You can reach out to those folks. You can. You may not reach them, but you might reach their kids because they saw you reaching out to their mom and dad. They might go, my mom and dad didn't get this. They were dug in. They were ticks on that bear, but I can see better. I can see that that the Democratic Party or liberals in general were like, look, I don't agree with you, but I don't mean you ill. And that's where you can reach. And that's what I said. Like when you're speaking, to someone who is a hardliner for Trump or anybody else, you're not really speaking to them if they're really stuck in there, right? You're not really having a conversation with them. You're having a conversation with a person just over their shoulder who isn't completely bought in on their system, but believes they're on their team because they grew up with it. They grew up in a conservative town. They grew up with conservative values. They go to a conservative church. They've always felt that people should be able to live and let live in terms of social issues, women's rights, LGBT rights, and that kind of stuff. But they're scared of some socioeconomic stuff, and they just want to be able to have a business. And maybe, and they've been told that if they win the lottery, the government takes half, and that's how life is. And they live as if they're going to win the lottery, and they're not. And when they get to actual business and trying to have a job, it ends up being the Democratic Party that provides them with the OSHA protections that keep them from losing a finger, or the union protections, the ability to unionize, so that when the corporate group at the top, the president and the board of directors, have a meeting and go, look, we're not making any money. We're going to have to either cut people's pay or fire some people, or do something, because we live off the money that after costs. And the workers go, well, you can't fire us, and we want a pay raise. the negotiation that happens between those two groups of people, that's what a union is for. They stand on the same strong footing. That's why the union is the board of directors for the workers. And there can be a negotiation there in good faith. And it happens all the time. It does exist. And that's why unions are important. That's why Democrats have always fought for unions. That's why they have value, even to the board of directors, even to the president, because a huge walkout by non-unionized workers who just don't show up, that flew their way out, is no way to run a business either. So anyways, appreciate it, you guys. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this, and more your calls and the happy ending and all this kind of stuff. It's super fun. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, mega worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk, every Saturday, 9 to 11 Pacific time, 11 to 1 Central. Be back right after this. Suzanne, I will do so. Benny Loco, can you see Suzanne? She's on Facebook. Can you see her in the greater chat? You should be able to see her. If you can't, we will. Yeah, there you go. And by the way, I want to thank everybody again. Appreciate the locals who always gather with us in the Chicagoland area, who join for the Saturday shows, who aren't necessarily a regular part of the daily stream that I've been doing since the beginning of lockdown or COVID or the quarantine or the hangout, the great stay at home, the stay the F home movement, whatever you like to label it. I appreciate you guys showing up every Saturday and joining me and Johnny Million as we chit chat and try not to diverge into. Do I have a
poop talk and hair metal?
Yep, poop talk and hair metal. All right. Remind me before you go at the end of the show, during the break. I have to show you something.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's now time for the happy ending. Yay!
Yay! And there has been some. Obviously, the vaccine is starting to roll out. There are another one has been cleared. Moderna, obviously. Pfizer's Johnson & Johnson's single shot is supposedly coming out in January, but we don't know for sure. Fauci and the team of scientists around it feel comfortable about it. They've reviewed the data. They believe it to be safe and effective. And not only that, but the mRNA advancements that have been made in the last 20 years that have led to this vaccine coming faster than, say, ones before it, even though this one took longer than H1N1. Because N1 and H1 hit in May, Obama got the shot by December in his own arm. The President of the United States, Barack Obama, got the H1N1 vaccine the same year it came out in his own arm. Didn't catch it. Didn't encourage catching it. Didn't tell people to go out and catch it and get over it. Didn't have people in his administration telling people, just get it. It's fine. It's basically like the flu. No. They worked very hard. They recognized what the mortality rate on it was, but that the value of certain people getting the vaccine was incredibly important. So he got it himself to show everybody it was safe. There you go. Something the president will not do. And basically, I think... Who was it? Was it Nicole Wallace had a guest on who referred to Pence as Trump's food taster for the vaccine? So how close am I to 500? We're at 570. We're at 471 as far as Patreon people. Thanks, Garrett, for asking. We're getting close. Oh yeah. And we've got a bunch of people watching today. Huge crowd, and to them, I also want to say thank you to the trolls. The trolls who come and scream into the wind after Facebook has shut down a bunch of the QAnon pages and they've got nowhere else to go. They come and ask me who I am on my own page and how dare I say things that I say on my own page on my own show. It's curious that. Yeah. I really need to start fighting for the repeal of 230 so I can get rid of these folks, I guess. But they boost our numbers and they raise us up into another category, and I really appreciate it. And they share the show almost as much as the regulars. So I appreciate that. Someone was asking, what's Trump's 2018 executive order about? I don't know which one. There are several, including the scuttling of the cops program, the defunding of the cops program, which was to address police violence, which left implemented would have saved several lives over the last year, including George Floyd. And of course, the executive order getting rid of the ventilator purchase that Obama had already set up, where we were ordering 19,000 ventilators that would have arrived in 2018 But Trump in 2017 scuttled the order and ended up having to make the same order for full price, more money, almost twice the cost, and they won't be arriving in the United States till 2022. So let's, again, this is the guy who knows more about ISIS than the generals. This is the guy who knows more about business than business people. It's stunning to me how anybody actually thinks he's an effective leader, considering he has to turn on everyone he hires except the yes men around him who will just repeat what he says back to him. That's amazing. So that's why I thank the trolls.
So boring.
Because I don't just need sycophants, by the way. Over the course of the next week, by the way, it is Christmas week. By the next time, and of course the 3-month anniversary of my birthday, which is how most people celebrate Christmas. My birthday falls on the same day as Christmas every year, and now that you know that, you can't not know that. There are a couple of happy endings that I want to address. One is that while there was a temporary fund the government stay for a little while before they left for the holiday, there will be a pickup of some stimulus right after. Basically, they're waiting until the January 6th date. Like, basically, all the Republicans who don't want to back Trump in his weirdness and who are just being silent, the silence is acceptance crowd in the Republican Party, they're all basically in stasis chambers, like in Aliens, until after the Electoral College is certified in the Congress. They're basically they're going to hold their breath. It'll pass through. A couple of them will yell during the meeting, to certify it, and make noise. Historically never done before, but basically ineffective. And it'll get certified. And then after that, they'll start talking about stimulus and real jobs and dealing with this stuff because they have to and that kind of stuff. Not out of some, interest in working with Biden, but out of total self-interest. And Biden's not stupid about that and knows how to negotiate based on their self-interest in a way that some other presidents might not. I mean, it's what made Lyndon Johnson as effective as he was. Lyndon Johnson, a big fan apparently of using racial epithets in regular talk, also passed the Civil Rights Act because he knew how to speak to and with the people that were standing against it and got it through. It actually happened. And the question becomes, do you want it to happen or do you want to be right and lose? Do you want a purity test where you don't get anything, or do you want to accomplish the best you can accomplish and keep moving forward and keep adding to your wins? Do you want to, I hate using football analogies, but you gain yardage, you got to work, you got to have your ground game. It can't all be Hail Marys. New people watching football are always like, why don't they the dude's got a great arm. Why don't he just rocket it into the end zone? He's got a fast guy. He can outrun him. Why don't he just run into the, yeah, people tried that. It ended up with losing your quarterback's arm in about 20 minutes and him never being able to play again, and all your receivers being crushed because they didn't want anybody to be able to run anymore. LBJ is an excellent point. Lock them all up. Says LBJ was malleable. I'm flexible, I think is the word. But ultimately, again, if you value the Civil Rights Act, you have to value how it got passed, not just that it got passed. Because you also live in a time right now, as much as everybody would tell you different, that isn't 1963.
Yeah.
And the years leading up to it. You have lived with the benefit of the Civil Rights Act and other things the entirety of your adult life, most of us, most of the people listening to this, with rare exception. And to those who are elders, I say, get your vaccine and please live a long time and have a wonderful Christmas with the family and friends next year. That said, we're at the end of the show. Appreciate everybody who called in. Love you, Ike. Love you, Dave. Love you, Johnny Million. Love you to all the chat folks out there. Benny Loco, we sending love to you. Billy Hutchings, we're sending love out to you. And we will. I'm going to be on Stuttering John's podcast today at 1 p.m. Pacific on his YouTube channel, and then. And shows all next week. It's going to be crazy. And then the Christmas special is coming up. Sexy Liberal is tonight. SexyLiberal.com/tour. Get your tickets. Come watch it with us. We'll see you later. The riff that comes after that, I'm so proud of. Thank you guys. Thanks, Chicago.
Thank you, Hal. I'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Okay, Johnny, before you sign off.
So what did you want to show me?
I got to go get it because I've been having like show and tell with the regular stream.
Mm-hmm.
And so because we moved, and I'm sure you've gone through this too, where you're packing, unpacking stuff. I had stuff in storage forever.
Yeah.
And I got it out, and I finally have a bookshelf. So I've been getting my books out and arranging them and going, okay, I can donate these. I have 2 copies of this book. I can, those kind of things. And I've found like my DVD copy of Mr. Frost that Summer got me, which is hard to find. I found my original Metal School wristband. My, before Steel Panther was Metal School, they were Metal Shop. And I have one of those as well. But this is what and
didn't they do like a Discover commercial?
Yeah, but it's a different singer. Ralph is playing bass in it, and Travis isn't in it at all. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say their real names. It's wrong. I'll be right back. Entertain them. I'll be right back. I want to show you something. Hold on.
Entertain them. He does not know who I am. So yeah, I'm scrolling. Our big thing was realizing that there's still boxes that we had not unpacked since the last time we moved 15 years previously. And you go and look at that box and go, oh yeah, I moved that from my old apartment. And then mostly donating or trashing most of it.
Usually, there it is. So I usually try to do 3 things that are like memories of the corners of my mind. Okay, so this is kind of the right away, like obvious thing. This is a KISS mini tour program from the KISS the Second Coming, which was the next tour thing.
Yeah, I remember.
You got it with this, 96,
Did that come with
97.
the VHS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check this out. Psycho Circus.
Oh yeah.
Live recording of the show, and a VHS, a 3D VHS video. I don't even know how the hell to play this. It's I guess there's the glasses were lost long ago, but animated 3D Psycho Circus video with 3D glasses for viewing, one-dimensional version of the Psycho Circus video. The bonus collector CD is Psycho Circus and In Your Face. That's this one with Paul on it. There you go, just that kind of thing. And then the collector's CD is enhanced and includes a free KISS screensaver, which I totally have to load.
Oh, and In Your Face totally should have made the album too.
I agree. Yeah, I like it almost more than most of the songs on the record. Although Psycho Circus grew on me, I didn't like it. I have initially the song didn't quite do it for me. It seemed like
the live versions made me happier, and the what's the second song on the record that sounds like it should be on Carnival of Souls?
Oh yeah, gosh, I haven't listened.
That should not be on the record.
I haven't listened to the album in order in so long. Hold on, I have to look.
That's my, aside from Peter's Horrible Ballad, that's probably my least favorite song.
Within. Yes, right. Totally. Absolutely fits
That's
that.
just Carnival of Souls leftover.
Totally. And it was great.
You can hear Bruce Kulick playing on it.
Yeah. And I like Carnival Souls a lot.
I do too, but it shouldn't have been on Psycho Circus.
No, I agree. That was clearly this group crowd. Okay. And this one's going to knock your socks off. This one, This isn't KISS related. Maybe it is. I don't know, not really. It's just amazing that I found this, that I've had this as long as I've had it, and I think you'll find this both shocking and fabulous.
Oh my God, that's a Porky's video game?
It's a Porky's Atari video game.
What the fuck was the game?
Seriously. I don't have the system anymore. So now I have to go buy an emulator because I have kept this longer than the actual one.
So that's like our Atari 2400?
Yeah, it's a 2600. Yeah.
Oh, 2600, yeah.
Yeah. Like that is crazy.
So then, like with an emulator, you can just buy like an adapter that you can plug the cartridge into?
No, there's this one, and I just discovered it because for Christmas, Summer's kid wanted retro games. Like he's a gamer, but he like old like handheld game systems. So I went on eBay and found one of the old shaped basketball games that is just a digit,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
it's like I found one for like $40, and that was his gift or whatever. And he's collected these because of what they look like. I'm not giving him this one. This is mine, and it's also weird to give your girlfriend's kid.
Yeah,
I mean, he's 19. He's fine, but like,
it's still wrong.
Yeah, still it's weird. A Porky's video game. It's weird that it exists. Anyways, is one player using left joystick levels 5 levels of difficulty. That just sounds dirty.
It's horrible.
Yeah. But there's a machine called Retrion or something, or Retricon, I think it's called. And it's got 4 cartridge holes in the top of it that work like Atari 2600, Nintendo, and Sega. And so there's 4 cartridge holes. Run, coward! Right? That's from the Sinistar game that I have in there. But I was like, when I found that in my box of stuff, like it was just kind of in with a bunch of other things, I was like, oh my God.
Wow, that's a real find.
That is so bizarre. I can't even imagine either. Yeah, Retron. Thank you, EO. So anyways, I thought I would share that with you on your way out. That we have the Psycho Circus VHS.
All right, now I'm going to have to go listen to In Your Face.
Yes, I insist. And Within, just to hate listen it.
Yeah, just to hate listen to it. But In Your Face is like, there are only 2 songs on Psycho Circus that Ace plays on.
Mm-hmm.
His and then that You Wanted the Best.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 songs that he plays on. Everything else is Tommy Thayer and Paul.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
but In Your Face, I know, he was a mess.
He was a mess. I mean, he's a mess. He's and like I saw it was like one of the last live shows. I saw Kiss and DLR right before lockdown, right before everything shut down. But I saw Ace like in February, was it? In LA, and like Bumper and I drove down and saw him in Pasadena. And
is he okay?
I mean, the backup band is killer, so he doesn't have to do much work. They're carrying a lot of the weight and stuff, and he's fine. And he's wearing all of his rings, and you get literally
drives me fucking crazy.
They just clack the entire time. You can hear them clacking against the neck.
Why?
This is what we talk like when we're welcome chat room. This is what happens.
I saw a blurb that said it was from an Ace Frehley interview where he's like, "Yeah, I don't really, I haven't practiced in years. Only time I play guitar is when I'm performing or recording."
Yeah.
And all the comments on it are like, "Yeah, we know."
Yeah, no kidding. Right. You're like, dude, come on.
Like, just while you're watching TV, just pick it up.
For the record, David Lee Roth was awesome when he opened for
believe
Kiss.
it.
He nailed it. And it's because they had a talk with him. You know, Gene and Paul sat him down. They're like, you can go out on tour with us, but you're not going to Vegas your way through and walk through the lyrics and pretend. You got to sing. You got to do it. You got to bring your A game because you're opening for us. We're not going to be the show where everybody talks about how you phoned it in.
Yeah.
You know, that because that's what people talk about. You're a big star. Act like it. And they had apparently a big sit down. And he did, and the stuff was just awesome. It's his background vocals, by the way. There's a couple of singers with him, but they layer in the big Eat 'em and Smile background vocals.
Oh, okay, that's fun.
Stems. So it's really him on himself, but he's also singing the notes. He's singing the higher notes too, which I just loved it. So no, there was no Shecky Lee Roth. Yes. DLR with Steve Vai, I would stand in 4 hours. I'd stay out overnight to get tickets to that in the snow.
Yeah, all you have to do is listen to what Steve Vai still thinks of David Lee Roth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like he knows he's legit. And David Lee Roth's a new song and stuff. He sounds fine.
Yeah. He needs Steve Vai though. He needs somebody who's as in love with his instrument as David is with his.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know. And by the way, if you haven't seen his David Lee Roth show on YouTube. It's fantastic. It's it's so wabi-sabi, man. It's exactly as worn out as it should be. And his accidental poetry is amazing because he's filled himself with so much, like, so many haikus and, and turns of phrase over the year that it just pours out of him. It's like Steven Tyler lyrics. I love David Lee Roth, for the record. And I allow people room enough. 472, yay. I allow people, especially people like him, to do their thing.
Yeah. He bummed me out for lots of years, but I kind of got over it.
Yeah, I mean, that happens with a bunch of people. They'll go through an area where they don't, they're not what you want them to be. I don't need Kip Winger's solo albums, the acoustic stuff. I don't need them at all. He might, and that's fine. I don't hate on him for it. I'm not going anywhere near him. But the prog rock passing his hair metal, I'm there for it.
Yeah,
because that's what it is. Look at the timing on the albums, like verse to chorus and the shifting around that they do. I mean,
what, on the Winger stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's prog rock. They're totally, just listen to the riffs themselves. And you're like,
they were a fantastic band.
The fact that they have a groove at all is a friggin' miracle. It's like Rush having a groove. When you sit into a Rush groove, you're like, how did that happen? Because this is weird.
How am I tapping my foot to 7/4?
Yeah, exactly. And I was just tapping it to 3/4, and now I'm tapping it to 6/8. What the hell is? I think I broke my ankle. But yeah.
All right, my man. I still got to squeeze my long run in.
Do it. Go do it. Love you. Be well. Happy Christmas. I'll see you next Saturday. We'll see.
Sounds
maybe
good.
if you're not hungover from the holiday. Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Love you.
I mean, cake and presents,
right.
and family, and being in a robe and lazy and going. I had cookies. Cookies.
All right, don't make me go take a nap now. I've got to
Okay,
run.
go do it. Okay, bye. Love you.
Right.
Bye. See you later. Bye. There he goes. Off it goes, and I'm going to be on Stuttering John's it's 11/11. Oh, nice. Make a wish. I wish you guys health and happiness and a wonderful family Christmas next year. Family holiday. Yeah. So, fantastic. There we go. And now it's just us. I think we're alone now. There you are. So, absolutely. Let's see. Folks don't know, but Nigeria OJ guy called telling everywhere in the Guadalcanal to get. Oh yeah. And now the chat's just blowing up. We talk about this stuff. I like somebody was yesterday. There was a Mitch LaFon was talking about like logos, and he was like Rush's Rush logo or Kiss's Kiss logo. Basically Rush's Rush or Kiss's Kiss, and he's showing the logos. And like I would. Draw the Kiss logo if you never have, if you're not a fan of either band, and draw the Rush logo. I mean, it's not reflective of the music. I don't care what you think about them. He was asking about the actual icon of them, and quite frankly, the Kiss logo is magic. It's amazing. It's it's one of the best ever, and it stands out because of it. Oh, I get trolled all the time, and I take it as a point of pride. Hey, they gotta be here. If they don't come over and shut me down, then my word will get out. And so they have to do their like. The funny thing is that trolls in and of themselves are like one-man censorship armies. But it's kind of amazing. You know what I mean? Like Twitter won't even let me say what I want, so I'm gonna go over and tell somebody not to say what they're saying. And by the way, Cullis and Air says Gene is a brilliant businessman and promoter. The original Kiss logo was drawn by Ace, and Paul refined it. Paul's the one who made the sharp S, the lightning S's, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. That's true. I have been shadow banned a couple of times, but it's fun. It means you're leaving a mark. Come on, guys. Yeah. And by the way, like this, I don't know if this qualifies as, I'm not wearing the Gene wig today. I've got the Paul Stanley circa elder wig, I think, technically. Right? I don't know. I just wake up and they've stapled it onto my head. I don't even know what happened to my head. Apparently if you don't touch it, this stuff keeps growing out of the top of your skull. My ears have gotten bigger, but at least this covers it. Yes, I'm going to be on Stuttering John's show in 45 minutes, but I can talk to you guys personally, for a little bit, can I? Yeah, I'll jump off early today because, towel hair today is good. Yeah, I did do, well spotted. I'm not doing the long tongue. It's not that kind of show. I'll get kicked off. So, I'll thank somewhere in time. It's getting there. Your hair goes through phases, and I'm sure it'll reach a point where I'm like, oh no, I gotta do something. And then then it'll reach another level. I think I'm going to like here. Like get it in the front, cut to about here, and in the back, I think mid back. I'll maintain it at that length for once it gets there. Because unless I get a job on a cop show, I'm not cutting my hair anytime soon. Why should I? After living through this pandemic, come on. Oh, I totally should get a fan for like Zach Wilde video. Wow, yeah. Only the Zach Wilde fans will get that. Yeah, I'd have to grow a mustache to be Yanni. There was a joke about when I had long hair that all my friends thought I was actually Yanni. You never saw me with a mustache because but go for the wise wizard look. That's a good idea. Yeah. Does Patreon show streams? I don't stream it on there. We do other stuff or post videos there. You're cutting your hubby's hair today. All right, that's fine. Zach Wilde ogled me at Ozfest. Well, that's a good place to have it done, I suppose. Zach just looks like he's a stinky man. He's not, but he's, oh my God. Missed the radio, but wanted, hi, Jeannie. Dumbledore, right. I'll be Dumbledore. My hair's kind of wavy once it does its own thing, which is good. Oh, wow, Foggy. That's amazing. Richard, well, I'm past Richard Marx's length. I definitely am. I think he was attempting to cut his for a while or Daisy was doing it for him. So he was keeping it, within a reasonable length. He's getting kind of a mop top, which works for him. But yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Zach's beard either. Neither is Sharon, apparently. Sharon Osborne. I bet you do the tongue stuff on Patreon though, right? Yeah, yes, I totally do, Brad. Actually, that's on my OnlyFans. What's your top live show shortlist besides DLR and Steve Vai? That's tough. I've seen a lot of great shows. Danko Jones, fantastic. I've seen him multiple times. Let's see. Top 5 live shows besides Kiss obviously Kiss holds 3 of the top 5 spots because I've seen every tour since I was 10 years old. What's another good one that might be obscure? Yeah, Tori Amos live was fantastic. Certainly not a big pyrotechnic show, but moving and impressive and personal and yet rousing. That's another great live show. I don't know that I categorize. Pink Floyd's great. I went with a friend of mine and I was like, I don't know if I like this or I'm getting a contact buzz because everybody was high. Oh my God. But it was the David Gilmour, the full on momentary lapse of reason tour. And I like that album. So. Hair is currently Dennis Miller at first SB length. Well, here's hoping we don't have another 9/11 and I have, some sort of weird Muslim panic like he had. Tool is amazing live. That's a good one. Cher's fantastic. Have I seen Cher live? I don't think so. No, I've never, not in person. Yeah. Travis Tritt. Doesn't he put it back behind his ears though? Doesn't he do a full on straight behind the ears. Oh, nice, patty cake. Well, you share a birthday with me, and you share a birthday September 25th with Mark Hamill, who's another COVID fan. Rush is great, but I wouldn't say because of the concert. It's amazing to see them pull off the music live, but it's more like watching a sporting event in that regard. Yeah. You saw Kenny Rogers live in concert? That's amazing. My first public performance as an entertainer was when I won the Owenton County Fair talent competition singing The Gambler on the back of a hay wagon when I was 6 years old. And of course, if that was if that had happened in this day and age, there would be video aplenty, but Oh, Metallica live, absolutely. Yes. I've seen, have I ever seen Korn? I was tear gassed at a Korn show. How do you like that? Not pepper sprayed, not maced, tear gassed. Yeah. Saw them when they first, were starting out. A friend of mine was co-managing them when they were, shopping a deal at A&M. And, crazy. I did not incite any riots. It's true, though. Yeah, yeah. Oh, and Alice in Chains is fantastic. I agree. I have to say it's a totally different thing. It's right now. It's like seeing Jerry Cantrell live when you see him now. It just is. Lane Staley with them. Lane was just a different level human being, and I'm still brokenhearted about his passing. And yeah. Oh, Bob, thank you. It's sort of James. Well, I do feel good, so I appreciate that. Saw James 3 times as a teen. That's amazing. Do I know King Crimson? I do. I never saw them live, but yeah. Saw Twisted Sister multiple times. They're great live. And I've seen Dee Snider with Widowmaker and solo, which is sort of what Widowmaker is, but yeah. All the great grunge guys are dead, which should teach you something about the tone of the music that you let go through your gullet. There's a reason why Jane's Addiction must have been nuts. Coming down the mountain. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, William. You have stuff to do, and you've got to go do it. I apologize. Seal, I never saw live, but that first album is one of the greatest debut albums of all time. Some grunge is good. And by the way, Pearl Jam is not grunge. Neither is Alice in Chains, by the way. And Soundgarden barely qualifies. Because the first Pearl Jam album is frigging pristine. Listen to the guitar sounds and stuff on that album. It's like a Pink Floyd record. I don't care what anybody says. Nirvana is definitely grunge because they just slapped it together. But even then, it's like, oh, let's just release the demos, is really what grunge was. We don't have any money for mastering. Let's just put it out. You do not want to party with Perry Farrell. That's like if you party with Perry Farrell, you will wake up next to Gary Busey, and nobody wants that to happen. Pearl Jam's Jeremy is fantastic and largely based on the Stephen King short story Rage. REO Speedwagon, fantastic live. Made a huge following before they even had a record contract. We're a touring live band. All those bands. Styx live, holy crap, they're amazing. Mother Love Bone was a proto Pearl Jam. Agreed. But Pearl Jam is its own thing. Jeff Tate, yes. Queensrÿche live on the Promised Land tour. Oh my God. Rob Zombie, I don't know. Mix and match. And Cornell's voice on his solo stuff, I didn't like as much because he tried to find a different way to sing. When he went back to Soundgarden after being away, his voice was amazing. We could do this all day. I got to go do another show. I'm going to be on Stuttering John's podcast if you guys want to jump over there. And I'm going to sign off right now and let you guys have a break from me for 36 minutes. And then tonight is, of course, Sexy Liberal. I'll see some of you there. I did a little special Christmas message for it, so hopefully you'll get to see that. sexyliberal.com/tour. I love how Steph has still not figured out how to do the link yet. She does sexyliberal.com in the tour section. I'm like, just do a clickable link. /tour. It'll take you right there. Oh, God. These accidental Luddites. Oh, I'll tell you some dime bag stories one day, Tracy. Oh, indeed. So there you go. I'm going to be on Stuttering John's podcast at noon my time. So I'm going to sign off now. I will see you guys in a little bit. Bye. If you want to join me over there, that's awesome. I'll see you later. Okay, bye. Where's the theme song? Play the theme song. Band, did you guys fall asleep? There you go. See you guys in a bit.